That's so brilliant! This video is sponsored by Case Filters. 8 of 10 photographers struggle to get out of their bed in the early morning for doing some fantastic sunrise photography. And every second photographer even stays in his bed when the alarm clock rings. And so 50% of landscape photographers are missing the best morning light and an amazing landscape photography adventure. And I have to put my own hands up here because I was in the totally same situation for many years. The weather was outstanding, but I was lying in my bed dreaming about landscape photography, but it didn't get a photo. Now, over the years, I changed some little things, and that solved my problem. Today I'm able to enjoy the mornings out on location even more than the evenings actually. And I get photos today I'm more than happy about. What I changed and how I get up much easier today is revealed in this video. Hi my friends, very nice to see you. For me there's nothing better than a landscape photography adventure in the early morning. I mean, there are no other people there. There is a higher chance for getting atmospheric conditions than in the rest of the day. In winter we have even good chances for hoarfrost and fog in autumn. I do even easier to focus on photography in the morning, and all that leads to better photos for me. Or let's say I tend to get better photos in the morning. The only problem with photographing in the early morning is obviously getting out of our bed. And I think that's totally underestimated, but it is really a big problem. I made a poll recently and the result was totally shocking, I have to say. It's not just a few photographers or so. Most photographers struggle massively to get out of their bed in the early morning. Almost every second one even stays in his warm bed when the alarm clock rings, instead of getting up and taking some fantastic photographs. I think we have to talk. And my friends, I have to say I absolutely understand you. Some years ago I was in the same situation. It was so hard to get up, and in many cases I simply stayed in my warm bed as well. Now the question is, why actually? I mean, we are landscape photographers, we love nature, we love to play around with our cameras, we love to build up compositions and to take a photograph that just stands out. But this is not possible from our bed, obviously. So why did I stay in my bed instead of doing landscape photography back then? I mean, the obvious main reason was that I was tired, of course, and I have to say I'm still tired today in the early mornings. It is just not a problem anymore. Today I even enjoy being out in nature in the early morning. And I think we should make a difference here between not enough sleep and just doing hard to get up. If you just don't get enough sleep, I would recommend to engage with how to sleep better. So if any one of you should have tips here, what you can do to sleep better, just leave a comment below and also read all the other comments of the others to get some more tips here. Now, when I think back, the main reason why I really stayed in my bed instead of getting up was not how much or how good I have slept, to be honest. It was more because I was simply not convinced that I could get a great photo on these days, and it felt more safe to stay in my bed. Do you know a situation like that? You think it would be not worth to get up? Yeah, for me it was something like that. I mean, it wasn't like that every morning, of course. There were also days when I saw even good chances for getting a great image, but there were also days when it just felt hopeless. Yeah, I think this nails it. It felt hopeless on those days. So when we break it down, I was simply afraid of failing. And in so many cases, I decided to stay in my warm bed instead of risking to fail out on location. And this is something that is possible to overcome. It took me many years through, but just because I didn't know about the things I'm going to tell you right now. Well, one thing I struggled a lot was that I didn't feel prepared enough in the early morning. I feared that I could maybe forget about anything important. Batteries, memory cards, my tripod, but also my jacket or my clothes or my outdoor trousers, for instance. Especially, you know, when my wife tidies up or makes washing day or something like that. It could happen that I don't find my things in the early morning. and I had quite negative experiences with waking up my wife at 4 a.m. Just for asking her if she my jacket. So that's not good. Never ask your wife or your husband, doesn't really matter. So what I do today is I prepare everything already the day before. I put everything together on one single place. This is usually my office here, and so that I don't have to look for it again in the morning. Really everything, my camera bag, tripod, hat, gloves, vlogging gear. I check my batteries, my memory cards. I double check everything. In winter I even boil water the evening before, and I prepare my bottle of tea here in my office. I mean, I boil the water in my kitchen, I bring it over here. But anyway, afterwards I have everything here together. So ultimately, in the early morning, I don't have to think about what I have to take with me. I just grab the things I have already prepared and put them into my car. And it is quite interesting, just this little thing of preparing everything already the day before helped me really a lot to feel more comfortable in the morning. It simply takes the fear away that I could forget anything. And I think I also sleep much better because when I don't have to think in my bed about which things I need to prepare in the morning instead of sleeping. But being prepared isn't only about my gear and equipment. Especially in landscape photography, we're dependent on the weather and light situation, obviously. So what I do is I prepare for the weather. But the thing is, we know that we can't trust weather forecasts, right? So also when a weather app says to us that it will be a little cloudy, for instance, with a little bit of wind or so, what if the prediction is wrong? How will the weather get in that case? Will there be rain or clear sunshine? Will there be ground fog maybe or haze? All that is not answered by a common weather forecast. So actually, we are never really prepared for the weather. But over the years, I found a solution. And what I did is I started to make my own weather forecasts by using weather maps. And therefore, I consider not only the main weather scenario, I consider different weather scenarios. So that I'm really prepared for each single case. And that's not possible with weather apps because they will give you just one weather scenario, the main weather scenario. You need to study weather maps instead. I will not go in detail here. I made already a comprehensive video about that topic and I will link it up there for you. However, ultimately today I'm much better prepared for different weather scenarios, and this helped me to be more convinced that it is possible to get a strong photo when I'm lying in my warm bed in the early morning. Being prepared for everything, especially for weather and light, is a quite good tip, I have to say. But another thing was that I often felt uncomfortable with the sort of weather and light, or even with the sort of landscape I wanted to photograph. You know, there exist so many different types of landscapes and also different types of compositional architectures. We tend to take photos in our comfort zone because it feels easier, it feels more comfortable. We see a higher chance to get a great photograph. So it is all about extending our comfort zone. And what I did is I started to visit the places already the day before, or even some days or weeks before, just to feel more comfortable with the landscape and also to get connected with the place itself. And when I'm doing that, I also think about my options, of course, for compositions. For a while, I even prepared whole compositions on my scouting tours. I think that's maybe a good idea especially for beginners and advanced. It helps to get more self-confident. But with time, I came away from that because I simply found out that light and weather are an important part of the composition, which should be considered in the composition. So today when I do location scouting, I just look for interesting features. Maybe I look for rough compositions from time to time. Sometimes I still prepare them more in detail as well. Yeah, I like this kind of variation if you want. Preparing, little preparing, no preparing even. But in case you struggle with getting up in the early morning, I would recommend to try it with a bit more preparing here. And same with the weather and light, by the way. If you feel uncomfortable to shoot in the rain, for instance, try it during the day so that you start to feel comfortable with a situation like that, so that it doesn't get an additional thing that could lead to stress in the early morning for you. However, in the end of the day, it is all about feeling more comfortable by being prepared. But it is not just all about being prepared, there is more. And before I will tell you that, my friends, if you like this video, please give me a thumb up. You know that I will feel more comfortable next time when I'm making a video for you. Thank you therefore. Well, being prepared helped me massively to get out of my warm bed in the early morning. It simply protects me to fail, or let's say it decreases the chance to fail significantly. But there's one more important thing we should never forget about. Failing is one of the most important processes in landscape photography, or generally in photography, or even in art, I would say. Every time we fail, our photography gets improved. And that's quite interesting. Whenever I mention that in my workshops, everyone has heard about that already before. Everyone knows about that. But it's just in my personal experience, it takes a while that we also believe in that, what we know. And this is something that comes with time. I think as soon as we have experienced multiple times that the failing improves our photography, we also start to believe in that. What helped me here a lot was not to focus just on the photo, but more on the adventures themselves. So today, when I'm lying in my warm bed in the early morning, I don't hope anymore to get a great photo. I hope much more to experience an enjoyable photography morning. The photo is just the cherry on the top if you want. I think it's the mindset. Yeah, it's just all about the mindset. We need to fail to be able to grow. I mentioned already that I didn't make enjoyable experiences with waking my wife in the early morning for asking her about my jacket or so. Well, for a quite long time it was already a big problem for me to get woken up by my alarm clock without waking my wife. How should I say this politely now? Whenever I planned a photo day, my wife asked me already the evening before how early I would get up in the morning, and she didn't use her friendliest voice when asking me that. I will not go in detail here. Let's just say I understand her, of course. I mean, my wife is not a photographer. She doesn't have a reason for waking up early. And the biggest problem of all was using a common alarm clock. Whenever it rang, it also woke my wife. Sundays at 4 a.m. or even much earlier in summer. And as funny as that all might sound, it was a big problem, really. And so I just planned to get up for morning photography when I was absolutely convinced about getting a great photo. Whenever I woke up during the night, I checked already the weather and stopped the alarm clock. So just that I didn't wake my wife in the early morning. Crazy, isn't it? But don't get me wrong here, I knew, of course, the problem was not my wife, it was me wanting to get up early in the morning for doing landscape photography. And so the solution was this little thing here. That's just a cheap fitness tracker with a vibration alert. It doesn't wake with sound or with a noise or something like that. It wakes me because it vibrates. So I wake up, my wife doesn't. And I have to say, this little thing here really helps me today. I can't even imagine not to have this little thing anymore. So if you don't have a fitness tracker like that, or any smartwatch or any watch with a vibration alert, look for one. It was a big game changer for me. Yeah, I will link mine down in the description. It is already an older model. Meanwhile, there exists a newer version, but just to get an idea, just a few bucks, but it makes such a big difference. Well, now we know that it is all about the way how we wake up, the mindset, accepting that we need to fail from time to time, and being prepared as good as possible. And when considering all these things, there's one more last thing I can highly recommend because it helped me massively to get up in the early morning and to enjoy morning photography. You know, when the alarm clock rings or vibrates, whatever, the worst thing I could do is giving myself one more minute or just some seconds or so. The best thing is really, don't think, just get up. Yeah, it's like pulling down a plaster or so. It is really, meanwhile, it has got so normal for me to get up in the early morning. It has got a routine. Vibration, getting up. I'm still tired today, same as I always was. I can't put the tiredness away from you. Again, read the comments below. Maybe the one or other has a good tip for better sleeping or so. I'm still tired today. Sometimes I'm even that tired that I do so hard to talk in the early morning even. And that's not good when you want to vlog, to be honest. So I'm still tired today, I mean at least in the early mornings, but I don't miss my best morning photos anymore. And I'm absolutely enjoying all the time my adventures. I think one of the most important things is, as soon as I'm out of my bed, I overcame already the biggest obstacle, or even the only relevant obstacles actually. When I have prepared everything else the day before, there is no additional obstacle outside of my bed, at least in most of the cases. It's just my bed actually. So don't think, just get up immediately. Trust me here, that works phenomenally. And an important thing to understand is that also when you thought about everything, when we are really well prepared, it could anyway happen that nothing works as it should. I experienced a day like that recently. The weather was wrong. I had a hurry because of the wrong weather. The road to my photo spot was closed and even my subject was not there in the end. But I anyway got out a really strong photograph. So also when there is anything that doesn't work for you, don't give up, never. And in case you haven't seen the video, which is quite funny to watch by the way, I will link it here for you. My friends, I hope this was useful. If yes, please give me a thumb up, share this video with your friends. Maybe they could also be tired in the morning. And don't forget to tune in next week, there will come a fantastic video as well. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.